Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. Here's a headline from crypto media outlet You Today. XRP acknowledged as fast and cheap bridge currency in new G30 report. This is a notable group. I'm sure some of you have heard of the G30 before. They also do talk about stable coins potentially being used in the correspondent banking system. So there's some interesting things to note on this. I also want to share with you this major headline. You guys remember that Ripple was hacked along with a ton of other businesses and individuals on the Twitters when did that? Within the last couple weeks or so? I don't know, all the days still blur together at this point. But here's a headline from Cointelegraph. A 17-year-old was just arrested in connection with Twitter's recent hack. And this is probably the most notable collection of Twitter hacks ever to just occur all essentially at once, with a massive amount of Bitcoin being sent to an address that was it was a scam. Obviously, they're promising Bitcoin back, but I think it was like $112,000 or somewhere thereabout. So lucky they caught this piece of crap human, but it's nuts that this even happened. Wait till you hear the specifics. And then I have this story. Where'd it go? Right up here. Okay, this one comes from Daily Hodl. A Ripple-backed startup proposing major changes to the XRP ledger. Here's what they will do. And actually talking ultimately about something that XRPL Labs is proposing, which is, of course, founded and run by Wietse Wind. And his company's now funded through Ripple's Spring Initiative. He's the guy that created the XRP tip bot. But before we cover details any further, if you would please delicately tap that like button, I would certainly appreciate it. And also, go ahead and subscribe to the Moon Lambo channel. It don't cost nothing, son. I'm telling you. The Group of 30, or G30 for short, has recognized XRP cryptocurrency as a solution to slow and expensive correspondent banking in its most recent report that focuses on various risks and opportunities associated with all types of digital currencies. While hypothesizing about the introduction of a global official sector stablecoin, G30 suggests that it could perform a similar function to Ripple's existing remittance network. And so I pulled up the actual document here from the G30 website, and I want to just cover. There's just a short paragraph here where they mention. I want to talk about this. So let's see. Carney 2019 has raised the question of whether a globally coordinated systemic hegemonic currency could dampen the spillover shocks associated with the dominance of the U.S. dollar as a reserve currency. A systemic hegemonic currency could, for example, be a stablecoin backed by a basket of deposits at different central banks. And so I'd always wondered about that. I don't know if you guys thought about this, but when Libra was announced, and it's just a white paper, so maybe it'll never come to pass, but it was purported that moving forward, the Libra cryptocurrency from Facebook was going to be backed by a basket of fiat currencies, and they never really, that I saw anyway, they never really fleshed out the specifics of how is that possible. Like, how is it possible that it's going to literally be backed by multiple currencies that have different values around the world? To me, that's just as silly as saying that XRP would be backed by gold, because then you're stating that XRP effectively has two different prices. It has the price of whatever the open market value is, and then the price of whatever gold is at the time. That's just as silly as saying that a $5 bill is also worth $20. And so when it came to this, I've been wondering for some time, what does that actually look like? How do you have a cryptocurrency, Libra, backed by multiple fiat currencies that all have different values? And it may simply be the case that it's going to be backed by different fiat currencies in different regions. Perhaps that's the case. But that seems to be essentially what they were getting at with that sentence right there. And then they continue here. It is possible that such a stablecoin could be valuable for cross-border payments, serving a function similar to that offered in the private sector by Ripple, a real-time gross settlement system a currency exchange, and remittance network whose digital currency XRP leapfrogs slow and expensive correspondent banking. So the cool part there is they're certainly recognizing just how terrible Swift is. That's like a slap in the face to Swift, because that's the only other real way to move money around the planet. And there is this acknowledgement that it's not like it's a minor upgrade. They use the word leapfrogs over it. Absolutely true. Now, they did go a little off the rails, in my opinion, and they probably need to analyze this a little bit further, but utilizing a bank coin or a stable coin, you cannot do the same thing that you can do with a decentralized cryptocurrency. And there are a lot of reasons for that. How are you going to get business entities, banks around the world all on board with one particular cryptocurrency? Because if it's your competing bank's coin, for example, would you be more incentivized to use your competing bank's cryptocurrency for settlement, or something that's open source? Even if you're not going to make your own, what would you be more likely to use? How are you going to, if you're a bank that's making a bank coin, you will get limited success. It's never going to be a global solution there. And then similarly with a stable coin, if that requires a central authority, that does not fix the issue of trust. So I don't know how you get how you get that sort of adoption anyway. And even if that was a reasonable solution to use a stablecoin, which it absolutely is not, who's going to do it? Who is going to make that happen? And what about the actual network effect of just RippleNet growing and becoming more? Because here's the neat thing about it. The value of RippleNet exponentially increases as new entities come on board and become part of RippleNet. So who's going to do that? What would their monetary, how are you going to make money doing that? If you're just running a stable coin, right? Who's going to? Well, nobody. And so when you talk about these concepts, okay, they're thrown away. This is something that's thrown around here, something that could happen. Not really so much. I don't think that it's realistic to assume that would ever occur. That's just my humble opinion. But anyway, cool nonetheless to see that XRP has been cited here for what it is, which is a leapfrog over the legacy financial system when it comes to correspondent banking, which is a complete train wreck. Into this story now from Cointelegraph. A 17-year-old was just arrested in connection with Twitter's recent hack. Authorities have taken a teen into custody, claiming him as the brains responsible for the recent Twitter breach. Early this morning, the FBI, IRS, U.S. Secret Service, and Florida law enforcement placed a 17-year-old in Tampa, Florida, under arrest, accusing him of being the mastermind behind the biggest security and privacy breach in Twitter's history. A July 31st article from The Verge said. So that's today. The massive exploit saw many top Twitter accounts breached on July 15th, including the likes of Elon Musk, Joe Biden, and Bill Gates. Don't forget Ripple, man. Don't forget Ripple. This is an XRP Centric channel. I got to mention that. Even Brad Garlinghouse. Well, he had I don't think it was the case that Brad Garlinghouse's account got hacked, unless I'm really just misremembering. But he had a verified account, and I think it was the case that all verified accounts were down for a couple days as a result of all of this. But anyway, here's a quote. Our offices found 30 felony charges against Clark, including organized fraud, communications fraud, identity theft, and hacking, said Andrew Warren, a Hillsborough state attorney, in the July 31st press conference on the ordeal. Residing in Tampa, Florida, the teen in question, known as Clark, will face legal proceedings in that jurisdiction, Warren detailed in the press conference. And he added, quote, the state attorney's office is handling this prosecution rather than federal prosecutors because Florida law allows for us greater flexibility to charge a minor as an adult in a financial fraud case like this. So this guy's going to jail for a long time. Wouldn't you guess? I certainly would suspect. Now, Warren said he could not elaborate on whether Clark had accomplices, citing the case's current investigation in tandem with federal authorities. Make no mistake, this was not an ordinary 17-year-old, Warren said. This was a highly sophisticated attack on a magnitude not seen before, he added. It could have been an extremely high amount of loss. And in terms of the Bitcoin that was sent as a result of this, like I stated earlier, it was like $112,000, somewhere right around there. But Clark's efforts toward the Twitter breach began on May 3rd, 2020, ending on July 16th, 2020, Warren said, based on his entity's findings. Well, this kid has definitely ruined his life, and as my grandpappy used to say, people are no damn good. Now, a July 31st statement from the U.S. Department of Justice, or DOJ, citing involvement from the FBI, the U.S. Secret Service, and the IRS, and others, noted accusations against 3 persons allegedly in connection with the Twitter affair. The 3 accused is a 19-year-old UK resident, there's a 22-year-old other Florida resident, and so the point is there were a few others along with this, and so perhaps this is all in conjunction, but we'll see. There'll be more news coming down the pike. This is a big enough deal that this will be in mainstream media, obviously, as well as crypto media, so I think it'll be hard to miss the developments, and I'll be happy to report as we learn more here. All right, last piece for this video now. Ripple-backed startup proposing major changes to XRP Ledger. Here's what they will do. By the way, this highlights the decentralized nature of the XRP Ledger, despite what Bitcoin maxi trolls would have you believe. It is not centralized. Ripple-backed development studio XRPL Labs is currently in the process of developing code that will offer flexible ways to add business logic to transactions on the XRP Ledger. XRPL Labs developers are calling the potential amendment hooks. The code, which will be open source in the future, would allow logic to be executed before and or after XRP Ledger transactions. The startup states, quote, "These hooks can be really simple, like reject payments less than 10 XRP, or for all outgoing payments, send 10% to my savings account, or more advanced. By allowing hooks to not only execute efficient logic, but also to store small, simple data objects, one could define a hook like, for incoming payments transactions, check if the sending account is in a list maintained by another hook, and if present, reject the transaction." Be interesting. So, I mean, anytime there are proposals for changes within the XRP Ledger, they almost always, to me, sound good on the surface. And then I'm always curious, what would the negative be from? Obviously, everybody running a validator is going to be analyzing this, and so it's like, would there actually be a notable negative that isn't obvious to me on the surface? But developers say these hooks will offer new functionality for users, and they got 3 bullet points. 1. XRP Ledger will have an on-ledger tipping/gifting platform. 2, light accounts would allow businesses to assign and track loyalty points without account activations. And 3, account-based flags will enable automatic know your customer identity verification. So to me, on the surface, it all sounds like wonderful, obvious stuff that should get approved, but I wonder what the counterpoint would be. But XRPL Labs developers are currently examining what a potential implementation of hooks will look like, and they plan to run the amendment on an XRP Ledger testnet after opening the code up to the public. And XRPL Ledger amendments require an 80% approval rating from the Ledger's validators. If an amendment stays above that threshold for 2 weeks, it is activated. So there you go. It's a pretty high mark, though. So you're going to make a change to the actual XRP Ledger. Vast majority of those participating as validators need to absolutely be on board, and again, for 2 weeks, sustained. So anyway, that is it for this video, though. Thank you so much for stopping by, my friends. I always appreciate the support. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything, because of anything that I say or write, that would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.